The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on August 24th, 2022, and we've got a special guest here to rescue us from just talking about the dismal stuff going on with the Biden administration. It just seems unending. It's like we're on a very slow sinking Titanic. But let's talk. Let's jump into the stuff. Before we do that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our lower left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite. Last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our lower right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our special guest today, Larry Sharpe, who is running for governor in the state of New York, probably one of the most visible libertarian candidates out there. So let's jump into talking about a little bit about New York talk today. And I tell you, we've been noticing this since the lockdowns, people just fleeing both New York and California. In fact, can we get the visual up there? It's funny. Kurt Russell's a libertarian. He kind of prophesized this, I guess, with his movies. New York is a walled maximum security prison. Breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane. And we're seeing
that's my campaign slogan.
Well, and like I said, California isn't spared. You know, the U-Haul trucks only go in one direction. And that's where you can see their license plate and heading away.
We actually had a problem here in New York State to where there weren't enough U-Haul trucks and people were actually having to rent them from Pennsylvania. So it was actually cheaper to go to Pennsylvania, rent the truck, and then drive it to New York to drive down to Florida.
Wow.
Yes, and they had a second problem, which was there weren't enough U-Haul trucks coming back from Florida. So they had to raise the rate so they could pay to bring the U-Haul trucks back to New York from Florida because enough weren't coming back. Wow. That's a real thing. I'm not making that up. That's a real thing. Yes.
So California and New York politics, great for business for U-Haul.
U-Haul's like, go Hochul, go Hochul, go. They're loving it. They're loving it.
Would be interesting to see if she's getting some funds under the table from U-Haul.
If I was in the market, I'd be all about her. I'd be buying ads, the whole thing. Absolutely, 100%. I'd be buying ads, making a killing. Absolutely.
Well, but is this still an issue, Larry? I mean, we've been hearing about it for the last couple of years.
It's been an issue since 2009 or 10, right? After the crash of 2008 and 9, what most people don't know is that's when things got really bad the first time. And the reason is, after that crash, there was really no recovery except inside the cities. Outside the cities, there was no recovery. So they still haven't recovered from 2009, right? They're still broken. So when that happened, people rushed back to cities because I think 80% of all new jobs since the crash were in 20 U.S. cities. That is how much it was just stuck to come into the city. So people rushed to the cities because of that. And because of that, the outskirts were just devastated, right? Just devastated. People weren't showing up. You look in many of these communities, and there's always one big thing that runs. Like there's a big Walmart or a college or a prison or something big that most people work for. And then everything else is either they're somehow getting a government check in some way, disabled, Social Security, public assistance, or they work for a franchise, some type of franchise association in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether it's a fast food place or a franchise lube shop or something like that, they work for a franchise. So it's government, franchise, the big thing. That's how so many happen. So that's why so many states had trouble, because you had to go to places where they would give you opportunity. New York State used to be a place that had so much opportunity, you didn't mind the oppression because the opportunity was so great, you put up with it, right? There was so much opportunity, you'd put up with it. But once the opportunity goes away, why do you stay? We've lost about 2 to 2.5 million people since 2010. So much that we've lost a congressperson, and it's just getting worse. In fact, now we're losing about 200,000 to 300,000 people per year now, packing and leaving. And I warned people about this 2 years ago. I said, actually 3 years ago when COVID hit, I said it's going to get so bad that people are just going to pack up and leave. They're not going to care about rent. They're not going to care about mortgage. They're just going to leave their house and go. And right now, if you go to the New York State government website, you will find a thing called zombie houses. It's that common. The government acknowledges it, that there are houses that they just walked away. Like people go, does everyone live there anymore? They haven't cut the lawn in like 6 weeks. I don't even know. And they go there and like no one's there. They just walked away with a mortgage or with rent. And the lease said, I don't care. Come get me, I guess, because I'm broke. So I'm out of here. I don't care. I guess I'll see you in court. If you can drag me back to New York State, I guess I'll see you in court. But they literally pack up and walk away. That's how bad it is in New York State.
Is this phenomena growing? These zombie houses, is this a growing phenomena in New York right now?
Yes, it is. I warned it. People, I said that when they do the lockdowns, that the lockdowns would exacerbate all the pain in New York State, and it'd be much worse. And I also said that, and I'm on record saying this, New York City will go below 8 million and never come back. It will never come back to 8 million again. And the reason is finance was already leaving New York State. In fact, the biggest lobby in New York State used to be finance. Now it's real estate. So finance is already leaving because back in the day, some of you who know this, who've been in this world, tech used to follow finance, right? Yes. Tech, you know that, Leon, they used to follow finance. Yes. Those days are over. Now finance follows tech. Yeah. Tech now dominates so much now that finance follows tech. Literally, the New York Stock Exchange threatened to go to Austin. That's how bad it was.
Wow. Yes.
Goldman Sachs threatened to go to Miami. That was the only reason why Cuomo did not do his transaction tax he was going to do. Because if he had done that, they'd have packed him and left.
Well, James, can I get a visual up real quick while Larry's talking? Because this sort of shows that there's a real cost here. I mean, aside from the social turbulence, it says this article from Center Square, New York, says New York loses $19.5 billion in population exodus. Yep. And that's from the IRS. So this is nuts.
Yes. and all the people in New York say is tax the wealthy. What wealthy? They're leaving. You can't tax them. They're going to be in Florida. They're going to be in Texas. They're going to be in Tennessee. Those are three big states they're going to. And what's the common denominator in Texas, Florida, and Tennessee? No state income tax. No. That's correct. No state income tax. They're all running over like this. No tomorrow. Nashville is booming. Miami is booming. Austin, Dallas. Everyone's going over there. Even San Antonio. They're all running over there as fast as they possibly can. More Californians go to Texas than Florida, and more New Yorkers go to Florida than Texas. But they're going to those two states left and right. And there's a mix to people going to Nashville, Memphis, and Tennessee. But that's what's happening. And you're correct. That's a big problem. And here's the worst part. New York State, its budget now is $220 billion. $220 billion. Only 19 countries and California have a bigger budget than New York State. Florida has more people than we have and has half our budget.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to all 50 states, you might think California spends the most. No, California, we got you beat. New York, take that, California. We're number one when it comes to being terrible. So, yes, we actually, with the exception of Alaska. Now, Alaska's an exception because Alaska literally writes checks to its people from its oil fund, right? The exception of Alaska, we spend the most per person in the country. The most per person. And in every way you want to measure us, we always rank in the bottom 25. Always. When it comes to schools, we rank between 37 and 44, depending upon what you use. We're the highest when it comes to schools. We drop $29,000 per kid per school. So the argument I get all the time is, if you just fund it, we're not underfunded. $220 billion from 180 or 190 when I ran last time. So a $30 billion explosion and population going down and billionaires leaving. This is not a good trend. And if you ask anybody what they're going to do, the Republicans go, this is a Republican answer. More cops. That's his answer. More cops. That's his answer for everything. What's a Democratic answer? More money from the feds. That's it. Democrats want more money for the feds. Republicans want more cops. Neither of them will solve this problem in any way, shape, or form. So everything you said, you are correct.
But Larry, I mean, the leaders, the political leaders of
Leaders.
Yeah.
okay, people,
They're blind leaders.
Exactly. Leaders.
the
Yeah,
political leaders of leaders in quotes of the state of New York cannot be blind to what is obvious.
of course.
I mean,
You're right.
okay.
No, you're
So,
right.
I mean,
Leon, you're right.
are they doing anything at all to stem the tide of this obvious problem?
Not at all. They are grifting while the grifting's good. That's all they are raking in all they can before Rome burns. That's all they're worried about. They're doing nothing of any value whatsoever. You cannot find a policy that makes any sense, if there even is a policy. All they do is just take more money. They are grifting like there's no tomorrow. The Democratic Party has all it does is give out more government jobs. We are making to where New York State is going to be, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, it's going to be 30% government jobs eventually. That's a socialistic state. That we're already about 1 in 6. We're moving towards 1 in 3. That's the move. Is keep making government jobs. If you count jobs that are not government jobs, but government contracted jobs, we're already about 1 in 5. So we're already going down to that road where government just pays for everything. So it's virtually impossible. Now, the Republicans, all they do is go, this is the year. That's all they ever do. And they yell, they've been yelling, Democrats bad for 20 years. Sadly, suckering all the Republicans, giving them tons of money. They spent $12 million in donor funds this year, and they're going to be beat by at least 15 points. The most recent poll has Republican down by 20. 20 points down.
Wow.
Why? Because the state's a blue state. It's not a purple state. Literally, Cuomo said in 2014, I think, his words, there is no room for conservatives in New York.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes, he said go. And conservatives said, okay, thank you. And they left in droves. And then just recently, Kathy Hochul, our new empress, she said, the two people who are running, the Republican running for governor, Republican running for Congress, she said, you're not New Yorkers. Get in a bus and go to Florida. That's what she said. I'm not joking. She said that. Get in a bus, go to Florida. So we're basically like, you're not one of us, get out. And her repercussions for this will be nothing. Cuomo's repercussions, reelected twice. Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Her repercussions will be nothing. Why? The state is solid blue. That's just what it is. So if you can't get Democrats to vote and support for you, you can't do anything. And here's what I know. I have data. I've done the data. I've done the polling, and I've been in an election, and I have the data. About 25 to 30% of the people who support me are registered Democrats. No Republican can say that. I'm the only one who can say that. This is why I'm the only chance of victory, because Democrats will actually support me. Because while I don't always go the way they want me to go, I will give them the outcome they want. So I will give them the outcome they want, but I'm not going to go through coercion and taxation. I will find another way to give them what they want. And while they really want to use that coercion because it feels good, they want to, they'll take it if they still get what they want. That's why those vote for me.
James, can we get some visuals up again real quick here? So yeah, this is Hochul and Cuomo together, and I tell you, there's doesn't seem to be much difference. It's like you're saying, Larry. I mean, one of them is driving him away, and they replace him, and it's another one who wants to drive him away.
What that should be under it should be, and stay out is what it should be. That should be the caption right there. And stay out should be the caption. Because that's what they want, right? Yes.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, she's waving and stay out. Don't come back. Do not come back. We do not want you here. Bye. Yes.
Well, it seems like there's lots of other things, too, that could also be driving people out. And I mean, one of them, this is a page from Bank or Rocket Mortgage, I guess. Yep. They're talking about the worst places in the country as far as costs go, for a mortgage. And it's all California and New York City. So when we talk about
rentals are actually worse now in New York. Buying is worse in San Fran. Rental is worse in New York. New York, the average rental right now, I think, is $4,100 per month. is the average rental for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom.
Wow.
Average. In Queens is cheaper than Brooklyn. Queens is like $3,000. Brooklyn's like $3,500. And for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
$4,000 per month in rent.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's crazy too, because, I mean, I was seeing, I think the median income for a household income in New York is somewhere around $68,000.
New York City, it's about 67. The state's about 50 something.
Yeah.
New York City skews higher. I think New York City is 67, I think, for New York City, but the state's about 54. The state's a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But you would think that at those levels of medium income, I mean, people should be having a decent standard of living, but the cost of living in these places are so tremendously out of whack.
So what winds up happening is you have 2, 3, and 4 roommates. That's how they do it.
Yes.
You have 2, 3, or 4 roommates. And the issue is it's hope, right? You have young people who want to make it big. And for the past 150 years, New York City has been the place. Right. So they still feel it. They believe it. They go there and think, I don't mind. I'll sacrifice for 5 years and have 3 roommates and struggle, but I'll make it big here, right? And they believe that. And when it doesn't happen, they leave. And less and less people are seeing it, so less and less are coming. But that was the reason why. They would put up with it because they believed it's fine. I'll work and I'll be that big heavy hitter that I want to be. It's just not true anymore.
Well, and beyond leaving, some of these people may just be becoming homeless. We've got these statistics that just show California and New York just sort of leading the country in homelessness. You've got some numbers that are sort of big down here. But I mean, you look at like Florida, it's like less than 30,000 in these. These are, by the way, the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. But Florida has a bigger population than New York, and New York's over 3 times as many homeless.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is just nuts,
Yes.
Anyways, people just leaving. And of course, a lot of this homelessness, it leads to crime as well. And I mean, we had this reason, I'll just put this on the back. And a lot of this is these policies that, this is we talked about this on the show before. The
biggest issue with crime
Alba.
is the biggest issue with crime was the lockdowns.
Yeah.
That's the issue. No one says anything else, but that's the thing that matters. No one says it, but that's the most important thing. There's many issues, but the biggest one, hands down, was lockdowns. Here's why. If you were a cop in New York City, it's always been a tough job. That's never been an easy job. But prior to 2020, it wasn't a dangerous job. New York City cops rarely got killed in New York City before 2020. I mean, literally, you had a better chance of being killed as a cop by another cop by mistake than you did by a bad guy. I'm not making that up. That's what it was before 2020. It was a relatively safe city. Being a cop is always a tough job, but it wasn't deadly unless your own person shot you. That was about it, right? It was a deadly job. 2020 comes, it's deadly. New York City cops are getting killed now. It is now a deadly job. What changed in turn? What changed in 2020? Oh, lockdowns. You make people desperate. They act desperately. That's what happens. When you create an environment where you take our youth, you take them out of school, you take them out of work, you give them no opportunities, and you lock down everything so that now everything they want to get is more expensive. You've just made the black market even more lucrative. So now the bad guys who want to work in the black market, they're going, black market is lucrative. Oh, wow. Here's a workforce that's literally sitting around on the corner waiting to do something. Thank you, New York State, for giving me my workforce. Now we're all gangbangers, and now we're out there, and we're doing crimes. Now we're in the black market. What is causing crime? 2 separate things. Number 1, gang violence. That's the number 1 thing is gang violence. Why in the world would 17-year-olds shoot people in broad daylight? It's black market. I don't have cops in courts. So what do I need? Street justice. See, Jason thinks he's super cool, and his people can do what they want, and they can ignore the deals I made. I'm sending Tim over to teach Jason a lesson. And it's going to be in public because I make sure Leon knows you mess around, Leon's next. You think I'm joking? I grew up in the Bronx. That's how it works. And if you've been around those areas, that's the truth. Tim is my enforcer. He's going to make sure Jason learns his lesson and Leon don't try nothing. That's what's going to happen.
This is a libertarian turf war between California libertarians and New York libertarians.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's bad. So that's the major part. But the second part now, that's the first part. But the second part is addiction and mental health. Now, what happened? During the lockdowns, you couldn't go get help. So now you have 2 years of mental deterioration, addiction, deterioration. That's what you have. They couldn't go get help. They couldn't be with a support structure, and they collapsed even worse. So now people who had problems, those problems are now doubled and tripled, and people who had serious problems, they're literally almost like in the psychotic state. That's why they get arrested 40 times and still commit crimes. So yes, this is all lockdowns. They will say it's everything else. This is lockdowns.
And real quick, too, James, can I get that visual back up? Yeah, so this is what the numbers are showing, too. This is New York State. The blue line is murders. And you look exactly what Larry's talking about.
Bingo.
As 2019, it actually was kind of stable. And then 2020, boom, it is just launched like a rocket. And the same thing with a lot of violent assaults as well, which is the orange line. Sorry, go ahead, Leon.
Larry, I accept what you have just said about crime and the association to the lockdowns, but isn't there a long-term issue here about too many of our young people are growing up in fatherless homes?
Yes, absolutely.
Creating this part of this problem.
100%, and that was exacerbated, right? The point I was trying to make is there are many reasons. That was the fire that really exploded everything. But remember, think about this. If you had a father in your household, you weren't on the corner waiting for the gangbanger leader to take you. Right. But now you don't have a father and you don't have school. You don't have a job. You're right picking. You're correct. That also is a piece. But that was a piece, Leon, to be forward with you. That's been a piece for a long time.
Yes,
right?
Indeed.
I agree with that. What I'm saying is the lockdowns was like, gasoline on a fire, if that makes any sense. It made it bigger.
Yes.
100% you're correct, Leon. That's a huge problem, and most of that is the war on drugs. Not all of that, but the biggest part of that is the war on drugs. The war on drugs literally taking black men out of the household. Yes. And the example I'll give is an interesting example that you might like this. Baseball. Why baseball? I would ask you, every single sport, of the main sports in America, American sports, are dominated by black men, correct?
Yes.
But not baseball. Why not baseball? Because baseball is passed down from father to son. You take the fathers out, there's no one teaching the young men baseball anymore.
That's a good point. I never thought about that.
Yes, basketball and football learned in the streets.
Yes.
Baseball's not. It's passed on. Now, prior to 1970, black men did dominate baseball. Hank Aaron, Jackie Robinson, they did dominate baseball. What happened then? The war on drugs. That is our cultural example of showing how government destroyed the black family. Right there.
Good point.
Right there. Absolutely.
That's a very good point. I'm going to look into that a little more deeper, Larry, because that is an issue that's near and dear to my heart, and I really would like to look a little more deeper into that. That's a very good point you just raised. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
Yeah. I love too talking about baseball and Jackie Robinson, because it actually shows a lot of other issues too, as well as government getting involved in race and everything else. But before we're starting to get near the end of the show, and one of the other topics I wanted to get into just a little bit was, as far as crime goes, is in New York they make it really hard to defend yourself, and we were seeing that video. Of Jose Alba was literally he defended himself, wasn't doing anything wrong, except to defend himself apparently, and he winds up at Rikers Island. And so we see other states handle this differently, and so I want to throw it to Tim real quick for his Good Guys with Guns segment. James, maybe you could get the visual up for this.
Yeah, we're going to run through this. Is a Ring camera showing a home invasion in Escambia County, Florida. Caught on Ring camera, has a homeowner firing back at the group that's out front there. There's been one arrest in the case. Sheriffs are still looking for 3 others and trying to identify one. The tables were turned on home invasion suspects running for their lives after the homeowner opens fire around 11:45 p.m. July 7th. So he was just by himself. Then these three home invaders, one had a handgun, and the other two were shoving the victim into his house, said Sheriff Simmons. And so they arrested one, and they're looking for these other three. Meanwhile, once inside, investigators say the victim's handgun slipped and fell to the ground. One of the three felons home invaders picked up that handgun. So now two of the three have handguns on the victim, and they're in his house, said the sheriff. It all happened fast. The homeowner ran to the back room, grabbed another gun, which happened to be horrors of horrors, an AK-47.
What? The evilest gun in the world.
And started firing shots. So apparently he didn't hit anybody with his AK. So those of you might ask the question, is the homeowner going to be charged for shooting at these people? Absolutely not. The homeowner is protecting himself. And in Florida, you can protect yourself, said Sheriff Simmons. So there you are.
If that's New York, literally, the first person arrested is the guy with the AK, and he will do at least 5 years just for having the AK in New York State. Just for having it. He will do at least 5 years. If he fired at anybody when they weren't in his home, he will do more time. If he fired anybody when they're running away from him, he'll do more time. So the odds are that guy defending himself in his fear. The guy missed everybody with an AK. Clearly, he was scared for his life, worried. He didn't think aiming. He was worried. His fear, he will go to jail for at least 10 years in my state. And they probably won't catch the other guys. So they'll get away. He'll go to jail for 10 years. That's how New York State works. If it's New York City, oh my God, he has no chance. Just forget about it. Sell everything, you're done for. And they won't catch the guys. They won't even catch them. Remember, most crimes like that aren't solved. So they won't catch the guys, and he'll go to jail. It is insanely horrible in our state how that works. And the problem is no executive steps up. The reality of it is we don't pay attention to Congress people or senators. We pay attention to executives, whether it's a mayor, a county executive, a governor, a president. Why didn't the governor, if I was the governor when that happened with that young man trying to beat up the old guy in the bodega, the first thing I do is say, he's pardoned. I get a vote. He's public. He is pardoned. DA, he will be out of jail in 6 hours, or you will be joining him. That's it. You got 6 hours to get him out of jail. If he's not, you're joining him. Done. You step up one time, and not you have to do every one of them, just one of them. Let DAs know this is unacceptable, that I will just stop blanket pardoning people. This will change how it works if one executive steps up. But the problem is they're afraid to step up. They don't want to step up. If you just say that, just that, it would have changed everything. If that guy goes through what he goes through, and I'm the governor, I say, look at that. If I was the governor of New York and I happened in New York State, I would pardon him for all of his crimes. All of them, immediately. I'm glad he shot at those people. Too bad he didn't shoot to hit them, because then the cops could have caught them. Right? He would have had them laid out for the cops. Would have been nice. Too bad he didn't hit a couple of the leg or something. Drop a couple of them, he would have got them.
Life, liberty, but Larry, I think it's a big problem.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast.
Have been with us since the beginning of time.
Yes.
And certainly since the beginning of this great land of ours.
Yes.
But, in our blue states, California is included in this nonsense too, New York and other deep blue states, the right of self-defense seems not to exist anymore.
You are correct. We can't have tasers in New York State. We can't have in the city. The city just recently allowed us, believe it or not, to have nunchucks. Nunchucks were against the law in New York City. Is that insane? You can't. If you have nunchucks, you can go to jail.
Wow.
What is wrong with us? Now, look, I don't think you should be defending yourself with nunchucks. Yeah. But if you want to, great. Just make sure you YouTube it, because I want to see it. So if you do it, that'd be awesome. Please do that. I would love that. Back the guys gotten away with your nunchucks. That'd be awesome. I would love to watch that. But anyway, my point being, you're right. We don't get to defend ourselves at all. Yeah. The goal is call the cops and then hope they help you.
Yeah.
So that must mean that criminals would have their way with anyone to doing anything. They could just break into your house, rape everybody, steal everything they wanted and just leave. I mean,
Welcome
right?
to New
Is
York.
that what happens?
Welcome to New York.
Now you see why Kurt Russell was trying to get out.
Welcome to New York. Yes.
But you know what, Larry?
Look at what happened to the bodega guy. The guy came in, started trouble, physically shoved the guy, physically punched the guy, threatened him, and the guy backed off, said, I don't want any trouble. He took the initial punches even.
Yeah.
And then he stabbed the guy clearly in self-defense.
Right.
And he went to literally the most violent jail in the country, Rikers Island. That was what happened to him.
Yes.
So
is he still there?
Correct.
No,
he's out.
No, he's not.
He's out.
No, in fact,
the charges were dropped.
Yeah, but beyond that, he is actually one of the people who's left the state too now, because I just saw a story where he has decided it's time to escape New York.
Already? I didn't know
He was an
You don't
immigrant.
blame him. Jason, do you blame him? Come on.
So,
right.
as far as an affront to liberty too, though, I cannot imagine, the founding fathers imagining that we would be making illegal 2 sticks joined by a chain. When he's talking about nunchucks.
It's crazy.
Just insane.
Someone's got to fight in this front line. It's me, I guess. I'm the crazy one.
Well, speaking of insane things, we're just about out of time for the show, but usually we end on our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. And so that is something where somebody has said just something absolutely crazy out there, either in the media or a politician or somebody. Well, this takes us to Sam Harris. Recently was in an interview with what was it called? Trigonometry was the podcast, and he literally said essentially that it's just fine to have a conspiracy if you really don't like the candidate on the other side. It is okay to do whatever you have to do to make sure that guy can't run. And of course, we're talking about Trump here. But Sam Harris, essentially, I'll read a very shortened quote from what he said. But Sam Harris said, "Trump is unfit for office in every possible way. My argument is that it was appropriate for Twitter and the heads of big tech and the head of journalistic organizations to feel like they were in the presence of something like a once-in-a-lifetime moral emergency, right? We cannot afford to have 4 more years with this guy." So the interviewer then said, "I'm interested in democracy. You're saying you are content with a left-wing conspiracy to prevent somebody from being democratically reelected as president." And Harris said, "Well, no, I'm content with, the thing is, it's not a left wing. It's Liz Cheney is not left wing. It's not a conspiracy." He said, there's nothing conspiracy. It was a conspiracy out in the open. So,
well, that makes it all good, right? I mean, now it's good.
Yeah.
Right?
And what we're literally talking
Me
about
and Tim are going to speak openly about taking out Jason. So it's not a conspiracy. We're not like going behind. We're saying publicly, we're going to take you out. So it's fine. Don't worry about it.
And the danger is, this does tie into New York a little bit, because it was the New York Post that was running with the story of the Hunter Biden laptop story. And what Sam Harris is talking about is it was absolutely okay for social media and others to essentially pull the New York Times accounts and not allow them to post anything on this kind of stuff, and it's just absolutely bonkers.
But this important piece to understand. He doesn't actually mean Trump is unfit. That's not what he actually means. In his heart, in his mind, Trump is evil. He's going to destroy the world, right?
Yes.
What many Democrats do, the Democrat establishment does very well, is create the biggest boogeyman possible. And Trump fits that like there's no tomorrow. Trump fits that boogeyman like there's no tomorrow. So it doesn't matter if you can eat, Leon. Stop wanting to eat, okay? Trump is going to destroy the entire world. We're going to be dead. He's going to come by and kill everybody. So stop worrying about food, Mr. Greedy, and instead realize that Trump's going to kill everybody. We're all going to be dead. And that's what he actually believes. And to be forward, if it was you, if you believed that he was the devil incarnate, if you thought he was going to destroy the entire world, wouldn't you be okay doing anything to stop him? And that is what the mindset of people like Sam Harris is. He's not unfit. He is evil. He is horrible. He's the exception to every rule. So whatever we do, and the problem is, whether you guys, I don't know if you guys will talk whether you like or hate Trump, whatever it is, He's not the devil. That I'm sure of.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the guy. That part I'm positive of.
Well, the saddest thing about all this is the libertarian answer to this is just don't put so much power in that office. If you don't want somebody to get a hold of it that you don't really don't like, the answer is not just for you to decide who really doesn't get to have the office. It's just don't give them the power in the first place.
That would make everything a whole lot easier. I agree.
You know, Sam Harris used to be a serious intellect.
Yes, I agree.
Man of the left. He always is a man of the left, but a serious intellect.
Yeah.
But when you read this stuff, that guy have deteriorated beyond belief. Maybe he's irreversibly have gone into the dismal world of left-wing woke garbage.
I think you have a very valid point, and he's not the only one, right?
Well, that's true.
Yes, there are many like it. Howard Stern. Howard Stern was a libertarian. He ran as a libertarian candidate for governor in New York years ago in the 90s.
I remember that
guy. Yes. And that guy's like, anything to get rid of Trump and lock everybody down, and everyone gets locked down, and everyone has to have 9 vaccines before you come out of your house. And he was just like, no one gets to leave ever. That's what he was. So I think a lot of people have gone down that road. He isn't alone.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Good point. It's true. I accept that. Yes.
Well, and the great danger is that, that this is suppression of a story. Is that where it ends? I mean, it could be other things involving elections as well. And that's why it's really scary stuff.
Well, the hard part is now you find yourself how do you find real media? Mm-hmm. Right. So now real media has to be found someplace on the internet, because any other media you get, you're finding out the left doesn't go on right media. The right doesn't go on left media. So if you want, and being a candidate, I have to watch both sides of the media. So I'll watch, say, a Monday night, show on MSNBC and a Monday night show on Fox News, and it's like I'm in 2 different countries.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it's like I'm in 2 different countries. Like what one person's talking about, the other one's not even acknowledging. Yeah. And where's the person who can acknowledge both and not judge either? That's what we're missing. You're supposed to. The news is not supposed to tell you what to think. The news was to tell you what's happening, so you can decide what to think. Those days are over.
Yeah. True.
That's sad. Well, I tell you, I think we're just about to the end of our time. Larry, is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, or any messages about your campaign? We can throw the website
LarrySharpe.com. If you want to help out, there are many ways you can. The simplest way, share everything that you see my name on in social media. Everything. Like it, share it, comment on it. I don't care if you hate it. Click like anyway and move on. I don't care. All the engagement you can give me online is critical. Being a third-party candidate, that is my way of getting around to social media. Please like and comment and share on every single thing that you see of mine. Even if you hate it, be nice to me anyway and click like and move on. Doesn't matter. Do that. That's critical. If you can give, please give. Donate at LarrySharpe.com. Every bit counts if you can give. You want to volunteer? I got spaces for you, particularly if you're a youngster looking for a resume building internship. I'm here for you. So, yes.
Well, and if you're one of our listeners and you're in New York, wake up and write in Larry, because man, I tell you, that's one of the most important battles we have going on right now. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you at the next one. Until then, stay free.
Yes, indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.